on this computer. And make sure that's happening. Okay, we are recording. And then now I'm going to make you, Laura, the co-host or the host. And yes, and away we go.
Okay, good. Now I should be able to share my screen.
Yes.
All right, let me get back to the Zoom. It takes 2 clicks for us on this end to do that.
I
got it, I think. Have I gotten to slideshow yet?
Yeah.
Now it's there. Okay, good. It wasn't moving. And y'all, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. I may or may not answer them right then, because what I have found is when I stop to open chat, my it takes about 10 clicks for me to then go to the next slide. So, but put your questions there, because if you're like me, you may not remember them later. One of the end goals of this talk today is to make sure that you understand and leave here aware of the fact that you can make this family search catalog work a lot harder for you than just finding stuff in FamilySearch.org. I tried to give you directions for how to use some of the other resources in the handout. But because of the depth and the breadth of the information that is in this catalog, now that they have expanded it to search lots more within the FamilySearch.org website. At the beginning, it only searched the family history library and its holdings. So it was called the Family History Library Catalog. Now it is truly a family search catalog, and I'm assuming Family Search is going to continue working to get more and more things searchable within the catalog. I want to remind you real quick of the basic things we have to do in our research. We have to start with ourselves and work back, or start with what we know and work back. We have to put people in a place at a time. So location is always important, as is time frame. You've got to fully document each generations before researching the next generation back. You've got to evaluate the reliability and validity of information from more than one source. And we cannot make assumptions. That's, I think, what bites us all on a regular basis, because it is so hard not to do. Okay, to get into the catalog, you log into FamilySearch.org and go to the search icon and drop down, and you've got the catalog, and you just click on that. Now, the types of search that you can do in the catalog are pretty standard with the kinds of things that you can do in most any online catalog these days. You've got place, surnames, title, author, subjects, keywords, call number, and microfilm and fiche. Keywords is the most flexible search, and that's the one that technology has really allowed us to utilize better than we could when the days of the card catalog. You couldn't do a keyword card, with a keyword for everything that it might be considered. So you had these standard controlled vocabulary subject headings, which Family Search does. And then you've got keywords, which is how kind of like Google works, but Family Search doesn't work quite like Google. You can combine multiples of these types of searches to focus your results and hone in. Be aware that of the types of the search, the subject, the title, the call number, and the microfilm fiche are not as flexible. They require pretty much exact information to get the exact results you're looking for. Okay, so we've clicked on catalog. We're at the catalog main search page, and you'll notice here that we've got this little note, learn more about the catalog and how to access materials. How many of you tend to ignore those little notes? I'm one of them that typically I get in a hurry. I'm focused on what I want to do. I don't want to do this. Well, it's a big mistake in Family Search. They have done such a good job of putting in links to really helpful information that you will learn something from. Now, you don't have to look at it every time you go in, but you need to read it once and then refer to it when you need it. So I'm just saying, these little messages that we tend to ignore, don't ignore. Sorry, my mouse is being really tender today. Okay, once you click on that link that we just looked at, it takes us to the wiki. This is, you can always tell when you've moved to the wiki because you've got the navigation bar over here. So it's giving you an introduction to the Family Search catalog. And it gives you the directions and the rationale for doing combined searches. See this little guide here, if there's something in particular you're confused about, just click on that and it'll take you to that section of the article. Okay, we're going to do a place search. And this is what I tend to use most often in Family Search, because I have found that if I can hone in on a place, then that automatically limits what I'm going to get that's extraneous. It also, the Family Search location topics are more in depth than any I have found, like in Ancestry or any other place. So I like finding the place in Family Search and using that because it often helps me. So it's just one of my favorites. So I'm looking for Anson County, North Carolina. So you see here, I've entered Anson. And so it shows what I entered, and then it gives me all these options. Family Search tries to help you out. So I clicked on United States, North Carolina, Anson, and got to the hits. So you see, when you get to these places, that gives you this huge list. I wanted them so you could sort of read them, so I couldn't give you the entire page, but I'm sure most of you have been in Family Search enough to know how these look. But you see that you've got the number of items in each category out to the right in parentheses. So I wanted to do a search for the surname Williams and Revolutionary War period in Anson County. So I entered the surname and Revolutionary War, and when I hit update down here, I got nothing. I got no results. So I decided, okay, I've got to alter this search. So I went back, I got rid of the surname, and I changed my term from Revolutionary War, because I'm in keywords now, I'm not in subject, so I have flexibility, because I don't know what the real term is for the American Revolution in Family Search. So I changed it to American Revolution from Revolutionary War. And now I got several hits. One of which is pretty interesting. I highlighted this. It doesn't automatically highlight it for us, unfortunately. But I got this. It says it's a calendar of wills, and it was a manuscript on microfilm. And it gives me the basic bibliographic information. It does include an index, and it's the microfilm of an original typescript. Now, I want you to be aware that there are a couple of things I want to point out about this. Calendar is a term, we think of it as a listing of dates, But in the archives world, particularly in the old archives world before technology could let us do online finding aids and all kinds of things, when they processed an archival collection, they calendared it. It is a descriptive listing of the contents of a collection. So sometimes you are going to see when you're searching in archives the term calendar. And that's what it means. It doesn't mean it's going to give you a list of dates and what happened then. It is going to be a descriptive list of what is in that collection. I thought this was a good opportunity to give you a vocabulary lesson on archives. So I chose this because it also lets me point out another way you can leverage what's in Family Search. The DAR, for most of the 20th century, every chapter had to collect records. Now they do it a different way, but in the olden days, they would ask members to come up with records like Bible records, wills, any documents they had in their family or that they had found in doing their research to gain membership. And then the chapter had a committee that would sit down and they would do a type transcription, multiple copies using carbon paper and onion skin. Y'all are, most of y'all are old enough to remember this. And they would then get these notarized and certified as accurate copies. Other people would proof it, make sure it was accurate. And then those would be submitted to the DAR library in Washington, to whatever state repository from the state the chapter was in. And in Georgia, that the state repository for DAR is the Washington Memorial Library in Washington. So that's one reason they have such a large, extensive collection of genealogical materials. And they have, and the local library, whatever local library the DAR chapter supported would get it. Sorry, I let somebody in, so I got sidetracked. I can't do but one thing at a time anymore. Sorry, y'all. So those records like this are now going to be collected and made available. The index to them is called the GRC, Genealogical Records Committee Index. And anybody can get some of the information from the DAR website, but to get more in-depth information, sometimes you're going to need to get a local member of DAR. But when I stumbled across this, I thought, oh, what a perfect example. I can talk about two things. One, the definition of calendar in an archival sense, and how to use and what these records, when they are talking about these chapter records from these different chapters, how people could actually access these records. So I'm just saying, as I said, this is another example of leveraging what you find in the Family Search catalog to get access to stuff when you can't get to Salt Lake City. Okay. It's going to take a minute. I got to click a bunch of times because of I'll let somebody in. Finally, thanks. It only took 8 clicks that time. In this search, I did another search for Williams. That's my maiden name. I did Anson, North Carolina as a keyword instead of a location. And remember, before, when I did Williams and the place, Anson County, I got nothing, even when I got rid of Revolutionary War. So remember that when you're not getting something with the place you're looking for, try the location as a keyword search. You still may get it nailed down. In library catalogs, this is called a bibliographic record. And I know that most of us tend to ignore this stuff when we see it in an online catalog, because all we want to know is the book in, what's the call number, where is it, can I go get it? I mean, that's how most of us operate with library catalogs. But this is another example of something that you need to get really familiar with what it's telling you in each library's catalog, because often there is really useful information. So this gives us very detailed information. It tells us that this item, this slave births, 1825 to 1865, is birth records of slaves belonging to John Wood Alexander of Jefferson County, Georgia. The author is Smith Callaway Banks. It is a manuscript that has been filmed. It's in the English language. It was published and filmed by the Genealogical Society of Utah. And the physical description, it is on one reel of 35mm microfilm. It is a microfilm of photocopies of original records, 4 pages, donated by this guy. There's no circulation of family history centers. It's restricted because of item 5. We'll go into that a little more. And it tells you William Charles Brown was born in 1855 and James Hill, son of Susan, in 1861. Several others are given with no surname. You can click on WorldCat to take you there. But let's really look at this entry. Okay, here is the title. This is the author. This is whoever has responsibility. It could be a person. It could be a court. You'll see records for like Newton County Probate Court, Newton County, Georgia, you know, whatever. So whoever created the record, think of it as a creator or whoever has responsibility for providing the record as what goes under author. Author is used very broadly in family search. The format we've already discussed briefly. It is a manuscript on microfilm, and we know who filmed it and when in 1995, and the physical description. This is important because we need to kind of know what we're looking for. Now, when we go down to the notes, they're going to change item to item because they're going to be related strictly to that item. And it says that this is restricted because of item 5. Well, think about it. There's no way that they put 4 pages on one whole roll of 35mm microfilm. So, and down here in the actual record for this item, it tells you that these slave births, this 4 pages of slave births, is in item 11 on that film. But whatever item 5 is, has restricted this entire roll of microfilm. So these are the kinds of things you need to know so that you could send somebody to Salt Lake City. This is the kind of thing you could pay a researcher to look for if you thought it would help you with your research, is for them to look at this roll of microfilm because it's not available elsewhere at this point in time. So that's the only way you're going to get it. Now let's use those subject headings. You've got surname subjects and locality subjects. Whenever you click on a surname subject, it takes you to every entry in the catalog that has that subject. So let's click on Alexander. And these are the results. We've got 812 results using the surname subject. And every subject has its own number. So once you have a surname subject number, and see, it inserted this in here. I did not put this in here after I clicked Alexander. This is giving you this. This is the kind of thing that you can add to your notes, so you know what that subject number is for the Alexander surname, for the Williams surname, for the you know, McElrea's surname, whatever surname you're doing, and then you can use that when you need to. But as you see, we've got 812 results that contain the surname Alexander. So let's refine the search a little bit. Oh, excuse me, 876. The other one was too small for me to read. Sorry. So now you see that you've got the list and you can scroll through this, but most of the time we kind of know sort of where somebody is or where they are, what time frame, whatever. So let's see what we can find. Let's limit to English and to the 1800 time frame. When you click on this 1800, it will limit it to the total everything within the 1800s. So it'll be 1800, 1810, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So there are 2 items in this, and there are 875 of these Alexander hits that are in English. So we're narrowing it down. We also could narrow it down to specific types of records if we chose to do that. And then we would click update. And when searching availability, this is something that they just added maybe in the last year. You can look online, you can look any, or you can look at a family history center. I would rather look for any because, like I say, I want to leverage what I can find in family search. And if I only look for what's online, I may miss some cool stuff that is in here that I wouldn't know about if I just limited it to online. So now I'm down to 2 results. That's a lot more doable. Now, neither of these particularly looks like it's something I am going to use, but I don't know. So we will click on one of these. I'll do the Baker family charts. And this gives me the authors. And it also gives you the subject. So evidently they had something. It's listed under authors, but it also is listing them as the subject. And it's telling you it's English, which we knew, and it's 7 pedigree charts, various size folded to 30 by 35, 30 to 25 centimeters, and it was published in 1931. And you look at the dates of how far this goes back. So some of this may be really good information. So as I scroll down to the notes, it says it's a manuscript. It's chiefly a record of many generations of descendants of Jacob Baker, born 1450, and his wife Abigail. So then it gives you the numbers of each of those charts, and it gives you all the surnames that are included. Well, you knew Alexander was included because that's how we got here. But whenever you've got these large lists of names, you can also do the Control F search like you do in a PDF, and then enter whatever name you're looking for up there in the top right. I think I've got a slide to show you that later. But when you've got these long lists of things, that can help you narrow down. Because if you know that your bakers were connected with certain other families, then you could look just for those surnames to kind of see if you're on the right track with these records. Am I making sense to y'all? All right, since there's no order, this is an example. Since there's no order to this list, it's not alphabetical, we can't tell that it's time frame. See, I did the Control F and it told me there were 2 because it picked up one up there in the upper list, and then it picked up one down here in the subjects. So you can see that it highlighted the one, and it highlighted the one above it. But I wanted you to be sure you knew you could use that Control F, because once I figured that out, it saved me a lot of time working in family search. Y'all probably already knew that technology is not my strong suit. I have to muddle through. That's why I teach these classes, because it helps me learn stuff. So this is a place and a keyword search. I had heard about this book that was from census, a partial census from tax records from Virginia around the time of the country's formation. So I did United States, Virginia census, and I got way too many. So I decided, let's narrow it down. I put in 1780, and then I found the census of 1779. And I think that's what I was looking for. So it's called A Short Census of Virginia, 1779. It was written by William H. Dumont. It's a book, monograph book with film. It's in English. It was published by the National Genealogical Society quarterly in 1958. It has 50 leaves. And this gives me the subject in the Family History Library. And it gives you references. Now, this record tells me there's several things I can do to try to get hold of it. Okay, I'm a member of the National Genealogical Society, so I can go to their website and log in and pull up this, because as a member, I have access to full text of the NGSQs. And I could go right to this article and download it to my computer or print it or whatever I wanted to do. So that's one way I could leverage this record, which is only in here. I could also click on the WorldCat link to see if it was in any other possible locations. And I checked the Pines catalog to see if it was available as a separate location, and it isn't. I even checked Heidi Trust to see, because I wanted to see, because you can get a lot of these old genealogy books that are out of print. And I thought with a 58 copyright, maybe I could, but NGS has evidently renewed the paperback and reissued it, because the publication, and reissued it in 71, because I found several indications that it had been a reprint published in 1971. But this is it. A short census of Virginia for 1779 can be found in one of the old loan records of the United States Treasury. Over 4,200 Virginians turned in their paper money to the Virginia Loan Office in 1779 and 1780. And then it tells you, gives county, name, county, and or state, entry number, and amount deposited. Tables 1, 2, and 5 are statistical. Table 2 also gives the county with its abbreviation. So anyway, let's click on WorldCat and see what it tells us. Okay. I explained in my note that a lot of these materials that used to come up in WorldCat for Georgia libraries are no longer there, because OCLC drastically increased its fees. WorldCat used to be a gold mine, because public libraries in Georgia that did their own cataloging, the large collections, and we've got some really outstanding libraries in Georgia, had their collections. So you could kind of search everything at once. Also, the University System of Georgia libraries were in here. So you could usually find a nearby Georgia library for most anything you looked for, unless it is exceedingly rare in WorldCat. No more. So I just wanted to give you a heads up, because if you'd been using it like I used to use it, now you're going to say a lot of ugly words like I do. So I can give them this information. I can print out this, take it to my local library, and see if they can get it for me. But since I actually can get it through NGS, I'm not going to do that. But I'm showing you different ways of getting to information you find. Now we're doing just a surname search on the name Hinton. So we got 119 results. That's all I put in, was just the surname. And when I looked at the results list, I picked this one, the ancestor chart of Mildred Terrell Thiele, born 1896. And it says it's a journal article and it's page 16. So I assume it's 16 pages. So to view a digital version of this article, click here. And this gives me all the other surnames. So you can kind of tell whether this is something you really want or not. So I clicked on that and it takes me here. When you click on view all 16 pages, it will open up the item in here. So this is the best way to do it. Now, when I look at this table of contents, I see that the ancestor chart, which is what the Hinton name is in, is on page 16. So once I've opened it, you've got this bar for manipulating the image here, and over here is your page numbers for going through this image. So I'm going to enter 16 here to get to this chart instead of having to go through all 16 pages one by one using the little arrows. I just enter 16 on the left of this total, and that way you don't have to waste all the time. And if your computer is as cranky as mine is some days, that could take forever. So it's just easier to do it. Notice also that now we are in books. We have moved from the catalog to books section. And this is what the catalog now searches, is all the digital online stuff that is in books in Family Search. Now, let's just do a quick author search. I did Paul K. Graham because he's, you know, one of our own. He now lives in Salt Lake City and he's going to be on the faculty at IGHR this year as well. Paul is an expert in Georgia land. So if you ever have a complicated research question that involves Georgia land and you need to hire somebody to do it, see if he will do it for you, because he's really good on Georgia land. So these are the ones that came up. See, he redid these books, the 1805 Georgia Land Lottery, Fortunate Drawers and Grantees, the 1805 Georgia Land Lottery Persons Entitled to Draws. That's different from the people who actually drew and won. Because this works as a substitute for the 1800 census, kind of, because it lists a whole lot of people who were living in Georgia at that time. The admission register of Central State Hospital, Milledgeville from 1842 to 61. Atlas of East and Coastal Georgia water courses and militia districts. This is very helpful if you're doing research in Georgia. Georgia courthouse disasters. If you've got Georgia ancestors, buy this. It's cheap. It's well worth the money. He lists every courthouse disaster in Georgia and when it happened and what was actually lost or not lost. Okay, let's do a surname search again. And so I've got 299 results. And I picked this one, the Wright family pedigree chart, 1601 to 1956. And here's the complete information on it. And it says it's a digital record. I lucked out on some of these. And then this lists all the other related families here. And again, click view all pages. And it tells you there are 9 pages. And so I went to the page, I just started scrolling through because this didn't really have a table of content. So I just had to go through until I found down here that it was listing the related families. So this is where I found my Davenports. But this is the kind of thing you can find in Family Search that we just don't think about finding. I mean, this is a handwritten chart. And I think I'm going backwards here. All right, now I did mark some of these items for the Davenport list. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. Okay, so you close that record and you go back to that results list. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, I went back and then I go back to search results, and that takes you back to that original. Sorry, y'all, my mouse is, I'm really sorry. This is highly annoying. It must be driving y'all crazy because it's driving me crazy. So then you go back to full results and it gives you, so I have created a catalog print. I selected the things I wanted. I just clicked add over here to the things I wanted added to the list. And then I created a list. I blew it up down here just so you could see it a little better. Two of these are books that I might be able to locate. I know for a fact that the Heritage Room has this, and this is a gold mine for people who were in this area fairly early, before Clark was even created, when it was Jackson County. And then I have always heard that we're related to the Newtons, so I haven't pursued that, so I'll check that out. I'll see if I can find these libraries. But this Davenport Times is a family publication, and so I can look to see if I can find that elsewhere. Keyword searching you can also do with wildcards. You can do that with surnames and locations as well, but locations don't work as well, I don't think personally, because Family Search does such a good job with their place, locality, subject headings. So I was just trying to see if I could find information on Germans. Well, I got 152,740 results. So I limited it to Ohio and added the 1700 date and the state of Ohio. And now I've only got 7 results. Now let's limit the keyword search to place. So I put in United States, South Carolina, and Scott Irish, and I put the asterisk so it could be any number of letters, because Scots Irish gets spelled, it's supposed to be SCOTS-IRISH. However, it gets spelled SCOTCH like the whiskey a lot. So I wanted to cover both spellings, because I really was trying to see if there were some things in the catalog that covered all those people who immigrated into South Carolina at the bequest of the South Carolina government and during the colonial period, and settled where the government of South Carolina told them to, as a result of the clearances when they were being cleared off their land in Ireland. Learn to use the variant keywords. Remember that when I used the Revolutionary War, I got no hits. But when I changed it to American Revolution with the same search, I got results. For this, in addition to Scots Irish, although we got hits, we might also look for Ulster, clearances, and other related terms to find more detailed about those folks that came to South Carolina. When using keyword searching, you've got to remember to use terms that might have been used at the time the record was created. So for more modern searches, we might use terms like African-American, Afro-American, Black, but those were not terms that would have been used in the period of these records in North Carolina. You would have found things like colored, because you had them marked as colored records. Sometimes the books were labeled, sometimes not. So you have to remember to change your search terms based on the period you're searching for or the records you're looking for or in. I mean, I know that doesn't sound politically correct, but it works, unfortunately, or fortunately. So here is the North Carolina. I'm gonna whiz through this because I want time for questions, and I know y'all don't want to go too much over an hour. This is one of the ones that came up. So I clicked on this, and you start scrolling down this huge long record. This back here is how long this list really is on those North Carolina marriage records. So as you see, this would be a great chance to use the Control F to find if there's a county you're looking for in here. You see what I'm saying? And it says they're available online. Click here. And then I want you to notice that once you do that click, that all of a sudden we're now in the records section. We were in the catalog, and once we went to this record set, it moved us automatically over to records. This can be helpful because sometimes these search screens look a lot alike, and I sometimes get confused as to where I am after I've been doing this for a while. I'm sure that never happens to y'all, but it sure happens to me. Now, I want you to notice that we've got the how to use this collection up here. This is the full search screen for this North Carolina marriages. It says we can browse through 1,509,652 images. And then it gives a citation notation for the entire collection. Now remember, you also in Family Search get a citation notation for the exact image. So I'm just saying, you know, they make it easy for us to cite. If we click on how to browse this, how to use this collection, this takes us to, again, the wiki article on North Carolina County Marriages, Family Search Historical Records. It gives basic information, but it talks about the kinds of things that you're going to find in marriage records. Remember, every state and every colony was like a different country. They had different laws. They called courts different things that did the same thing. So, their legal terminology is different. They were colonized by people who came from different places. Some of the states are more similar than others. But I'm just saying, when you're trying to figure out what kind of marriage records you might find in North Carolina, it's going to help you. Here it talks about bonds, the register of marriages, licenses, and cohabitation. It's going to tell you what kind of information you're going to find in each type of record. And one of the really interesting ones I found in here is, well, let me do that later. First, let me talk about the coverage table. So here's the list of counties. And I forgot to tell you about the coverage. I started to tell you coverage tables. What that does is it gives you a list of all the counties and how many records are there for each county. So this tells you that you're likely to find something on the county you're looking for. All right, now let's go browse the collection. So go to the county you want. I chose Duplin. And so when I click Duplin in that list, then this is what comes up. Now I'm going to show you these because I thought these were fascinating. Marriage acknowledgments from the year 1866 colored. Most of you may be aware that slaves were not allowed to marry. Now, free persons were allowed to marry in most states, but the laws changed at different times and under all kinds of different circumstances. But anyway, so the target at the beginning of this microfilm said that the pages were not consecutive. So I knew to skim through more carefully, look for Davenports. Davenport is one of my family names, and I grew up out here in the country before I started doing genealogy with a lot of African-American Davenport neighbors. And they, were friends and neighbors, and We went to their church for baptisms and things like that. So I wanted to see if they went back to North Carolina. I still am going to do more research on the ones around us, you know, living here. I didn't find any Davenports, but the records were interesting. The pages list the date of acknowledgement of the wedding. So it gives 1866 June and the date. And then it says time of the wedding or announcement or whatever, the number of years they'd been married, and who, before whom they acknowledged it. And then it gives the names of the parties. What's really interesting about these, I thought, is that there is sometimes the husband, the two parties listed do not have the same name. So this could be a clue, could be, not always, a clue to what name, even though formally during slavery, they did not have last names as a rule, the previous slave owner, because a lot of times they're not using the same surname. I'm just saying, I thought this was a fascinating record and I had no idea it existed. To maneuver through images, I always suggest that you look at the first few images in any record to see if there's some kind of identifiable order or if there's some kind of an index. Once you have a feel for what is on that record set, and I would just skip around, you can enter a number in this upper left to just skip to it instead of going through page by page. You know, if I'm looking for the M's and the math didn't work for me, I mean, I can do the math, you know, you've got all these introductory pages, then you've got page one, and if it's 560 pages and you had, you know, 8 pages at the beginning and your document is on page 320, then I'd subtract 8 from that and enter, you know, 312 here to kind of get close to where my record was supposed to be. I hope that makes sense to y'all. Now we're back to the North Carolina marriages, and because we were in one and we were looking for Davenports. Sorry. And this says we're only working in this. Well, what happens if we click on search all collections? Okay. Sorry. There, then it takes us to many more records. And this over here allows you to really refine your search and hone in on what you're looking for. Now remember, sometimes less is more, but this lets you get a lot further in searching records. So you've got the first name and the last name, but what Family Search has added, and I don't know when they added this because I just discovered it a few months ago when I was working on a Family Search overall class for Ollie, as I noticed they've added alternate first and last name. Well, this is wonderful. This lets us add nicknames. We can add abbreviations. We can add variant spellings. So this really allows us to play better with some of this searching. And if we scroll further down this page, this is what you get: spouse, father, mother, other person, location, type, batch number, film number, match all terms exactly. I rarely use that because, I'm sorry, my folks were just too common. When I use that, I just get too much stuff. And then you can filter your results by collections, birthplace, range, on and on and on. So I'm just saying there are lots of flexibility in working. And although we've moved to records, we got here from the catalog. I'm flipping through because I'm trying to get through. All right, 3 options. When there are 3 emblems you may see at the end of a record for your stuff. The first one is family tree. This is details of the image, and then this is the image. So if you click on the tree, it takes you to the tree for that person. And then just like you were in the tree, you can expand it and add the generations just like you would in the family tree. And of course, this is those notes that tell you things that need to be added to your records. View record details takes you to this screen. So it gives you the transcription. You can click on view original document. And this is a new screen. This screen is different than the one I got 3 weeks ago. So family search is constantly changing. Okay, view original record pulls up the image. And then down here, you got the image index, which again is your transcription. May or may not be right, so don't always believe it. But what it also gives you is if you click on information, it pulls up the citation. Now, you can copy all this if you want, but you can also click there where it says copy citation and it will save it to your clipboard so that you have got your citation for your record. I would recommend you verify that the image number is right. And there's one set of records for Clark County that's called, it's probate records and family search, and it says Jackson County. So after I've copied and pasted it, I insert Clark County instead of Jackson County. The image number was right, but there was something else that was wrong. So I just changed that. But if that's all I got to change, I think I've died and gone to heaven. So excuse me. So WorldCat, I wanted to remind you about. This is the place that's not as useful as it used to be, but it's still really helpful because you can get to information. And ARCHIVEGRID is where you can search for archival collections. And they have a way that you can limit results to just the stuff that is online. So I did a quick and dirty search for the 442nd Regiment. I was watching something on TV recently about World War II, and I was reminded of the heroics of this regiment. And I just wanted to know if there was stuff online in various archives about them. So there were 299 collections in ARCHIVEGRID in archives and libraries and museums. But when I limited it with the online search, I only got 4. So I think I'll spend some time playing through with those. Okay. Use the quality search features of the catalog to locate materials in a library, archives, or in FamilySearch.org. Use those to find materials that are digitized and available online, and use them to find materials you may not have found using any other catalog. And questions, and let me go to chat. Oh, somebody said they had to leave. Okay.
Laura, Wiki has certainly grown up the last
catalog
few
has
years.
totally changed. I mean, it is like,
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to do it. When Deborah asked me if I'd do the wiki, and I said, could I do the catalog instead? Yeah. Because
and
it's just so different.
Right. The wiki was sort of much like we have a Wikipedia, the ability to add our own sources out there, correct? And but this has really just changed the whole complexion of how we use wiki.
Well, not only wiki, just how we find materials. Because I mean, to me, the catalog has become my go-to place, because I used to start at WorldCat before they took Georgia out. But once I found they had added all this stuff to the family history catalog, and you could search the online stuff and all this other, I now start looking for stuff in the family search catalog and then work from there to other stuff. Because the catalog just gets you to so much stuff that, I mean, who would have thought you would have found that handwritten chart in there from that Wright family going back all that way and all these connected families? I mean, you don't know what you're going to find in family search, and they're digitizing, filming so many things and digitizing so many things that it's just unreal. And I'm jealous that you said they are digitizing in your area. I'm really annoyed they're not doing Clark. I need to talk to them about that, because there's some records in Clark they need to do, because they did a third of them back in the 60s and the other 2/3 they didn't do.
Right. And I think I'll send you an email address that you can reach out to with Family Search. And but they have told us in our current work with them that they rely upon us as researchers and historians and whatnot to really get the ball rolling in some of these communities where the government offices are just dragging their feet and not really responding to the need to digitize.
Right. And I did contact our probate judge, the one who just went out of office, and the new one who came in, to see if they were interested, and gave them the contact for Family Search, but I don't know what happened with that. So I will follow up.
Good.
All right. Are there questions, y'all? I can't believe y'all aren't pestering me with questions. I know that's a lot, but hopefully the handout covered a lot of it. Now, shall we talk about the homework you got? Several of y'all are muted, but I see mouths moving.
Laura, I really appreciate your going through this today, because it really has opened up a lot of things I have never used before. And I'll be using it now.
Good.
More. So yeah, I do appreciate that a lot.
Well, I just, like I said, the more I use Family Search and the more they improve it, the happier I am with it. It's just a good first place to start. And it's great. I mean, because it's free, it's one of the places you can start newbies on it, give them lots of information and expose them to lots of stuff. So anyway, all right. I realized when I looked at the homework questions this morning that I never put a number next to number 6. It's the one between 5 and 7 on your homework. One of the things I asked you to do was look for a place in the catalog that a grandparent was born, and see if you learned anything about that place based on the records that are there or whatever that you didn't know. Did anybody come up with anything interesting about the place that their grandparents were born?
Yeah, but I didn't have my email then. I didn't have my email at the time. Sorry.
Nobody wants to volunteer?
Well, I'll volunteer something.
No.
Okay.
I was doing some work in Massachusetts, and I found a reference to my grandparents. Well, I've been trying to look for their naturalization records. And I found a book that would contain all that information. So I did not have time to go through it all, but I found that of interest because I'd never known that existed. So that's very encouraging.
Well, see, that's exactly the kind of thing I wanted you to find. So perfect. Anybody else find anything interesting about grandparents?
I worked on it, see, but I didn't get that far.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I just gave you these assignments because whenever you're looking at a website that's as dense as Family Search, I can't work in it until I've worked. I mean, I can't understand it till I've worked in it. So I tried to do the kinds of things all of us do. Those are the kinds of assignments I try to give y'all ahead of time. So did anyone find a digitized book or pamphlet about the place your grandparents were born? Because that was the second part, just to see if you could find something that was actually online digitized.
I found a lot of books, but not this time.
Mhm. Well, you could look and see if there's anything in the brain.
Well, I saw where it took me to WorldCat to find that information as well, which is
Right.
helpful.
Exactly.
I went back to the digitizing project that our Clan Paisley Society has. And the first ancestor that the project manager has put on for me, I didn't find any information on the wiki.
Okay.
So,
Well, through the catalog, right?
right, through the catalog.
Yeah. Well, maybe it just hadn't gotten there yet.
Right.
So that give you an idea where you could look maybe for some more Mike's.
Well, this
Our stuff even.
to be sure.
But I saw it's so different now that, you know, I haven't done any research in a while. So I'm, you know, interested to see the changes, and I like the changes that I see.
There, like I said, Family Search, I think, is doing a fabulous job of integrating all of these resources so that they're easier to find, because they just have so much information. Right. And by moving a lot of this stuff into the catalog, because I had noticed a couple of years ago that they had started moving some of the historical records over to the catalog. You know, because it used to be you searched the records and then you had to go search the catalog to see what else was there. But a few years back, they started integrating the historical records. So some of those, not all of them, but they were starting to move those over, you know, into the catalog. So when I search, for instance, in the catalog for stuff on France, I was getting links to that were moving me over, like we saw today, to the records. And so I had seen that, but I hadn't realized they were putting those digitized books that are part of that 400,000+ digitized books, you know, into the catalog as well. That makes it a lot easier. You can just find a lot more now. And like I said, you can leverage what you find in those Family Search records to other places using WorldCat and other library catalogs. Okay, did anyone have any luck finding something closer for, you know, one of the last questions was, I wanted you to look for something you needed and then go to WorldCat to see what the closest library was that you could find. It's harder now, like I said, that Georgia has been priced out, and I suspect a lot of other surrounding states public libraries, because Georgia has fared better tax revenue than many other states during COVID.
We've done pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
We've done real good.
Oh, amazing, isn't it?
It is. But was anybody able to find a library for something they were looking for? And if you did, what was the closest library you found and which was the furthest away?
Well, I did not. I was looking for a New England birth record or birth in record. catalog, if you will. And there was nothing local in our geographical area that would be close enough for me to, of course, go visit or look into. So I struck out on both of my inquiries.
Well, did you keep a record of it so that you could see if they could interlibrary loan it?
I did not do that, no, but that's a very good good path to take.
Yeah, because that is one of the beauties of WorldCat, because most academic libraries will loan materials through interlibrary loan, particularly public universities. Every once in a while, you'll get someplace that's got something really rare and they'll put a really hefty interlibrary loan price on it because the book is extremely valuable, but that doesn't happen much. So you might try checking to see what some of those other libraries, print out that page from WorldCat and take it to your local library and see if they can interlibrary loan it for you.
Good, very good, thank you.
That's what I mean by leveraging what we can find in Family Search, because you find something and you go, like you said, I'm not going to travel there, particularly right now, you know, but it sure would be nice to have it. And sometimes libraries, now academic libraries, not so much, but a lot of times public libraries will do lookups and scan the pages you need and send them to you. So once you find somebody who's got it, check, but also check the Georgia Pines catalog to see. Anything else?
I think it was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I just hope y'all will keep playing with all the different components of Family Search. It's totally free. That's the beauty of it. And it just gets you to so much other information. And I really appreciate that it gets me to stuff I couldn't find otherwise. I can't believe y'all don't have more questions. Either I totally confused you or I did a fabulous job, which is not likely.
Yep.
Well, it tells me I need to go find more.
You'll run into questions
Yeah,
on this.
I've got to work on mine more.
Well, we all
Right.
do.
Practice what you taught.
Mhm.
And
Because right now I have been. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying, right now I'm trying to research something for a friend of mine, and I've come, you know, like blank, totally.
Not a wall.
And this will help me. I'm going to go back and try to put some location in and see if it brings up something better, you know, for an area.
Right.
Yeah, because like I'm finding that Haygood, North Carolina, I can't find any census. They're just not, they must not have done many census in this area. One census in the 1900s. I couldn't believe it.
1910.
1910.
Couldn't
So
find 1900.
maybe if I go back and look that way you were saying through the location and then through the census, maybe
Well,
I can find something else.
Right. When was Haygood County created?
Now, see that I don't know, but that's another thing. I'm going to go back and look where that Haygood is.
Yeah,
and what it,
because
you know,
you know,
basically
Barrow,
where, but
Barrow County, for instance, wasn't created till like 1914. And so people are always looking for records in, you know, Barrow County for 1910. They're looking for census and 1900. And I go, they didn't exist because the county didn't exist.
fine.
We don't know anything about North Carolina.
We have learned that in Georgia. Georgia changed counties on a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Right.
Luckily,
Well,
we got a map. creating the counties for
Well, let me-
Georgia, but not North.
Well, let me show you in Heritage Quest Online, which you can all get to from home through Galileo. Go into Heritage Quest Online, go to your library's website, log into Galileo, go to Heritage Quest Online, and then click on Census Maps when you get in there. And it
Okay.
has Dollar Hyde's book for all the states, and it shows the boundaries of the counties as of the census day. It doesn't have all the other intervening boundary changes. But so you could go to North Carolina and look for 1910, you know, and see if Haygood County existed. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you could
yes.
also see what it was cut out of, because each map shows the boundaries as of the census day, but it also has an overlay of present day boundaries. And it does this for every state and most territories.
Oh,
For the
wow.
US. And it goes up to 1920. He didn't update it. Dollar Hyde didn't update it after 1920, because he said there weren't enough to make it worth doing for 1930, 40, 50, because most things had kind of settled down by then. But that's one of the things I have found that creates a problem for a lot of people, is they look in the wrong place. Because I mean, you know,
Right.
Georgia had 2 Randolph counties. The first one is where Jasper County is now. But
Huh.
one of the guy it was named for, the Randolph, had an enemy who badmouthed him and besmirched his reputation and said he didn't deserve to have a county named after him. So they changed the original Randolph County to Jasper County. So then later, when it was proved that this other guy was totally lying, they named another Randolph County down in Southwest Georgia for the same guy. So depending on the time frame, you need to know which Randolph County you're looking in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I'm just saying, and we're not the only state that did weird things with county boundaries. So always look for the boundaries of the census. I mean, that gets you started. There are other online maps that do, you know, you can go to the state, Google interactive maps of the US or something. And I think you'll get to some of them. Newberry Library used to have a great one. But you could put in a date and a state, and then you could tell what you wanted. Did you want rivers? Did you want railroads? Did you want roads? But anyway, you can click on all those different dates and it shows the different boundaries throughout. But that's one of the biggest problems people have, and create their own brick walls by looking in a place that didn't exist at the time they're looking for it. I mean, this is common because we really can't get a grasp on how boundaries changed.
Right. And then a lot of times things are listed on the internet when you're looking up something either in Ancestry or Family, and they'll say this person is from such and such a county, but that's not where they were from.
Right.
Yeah. So right.
So, I mean, you just never know what's going on. And so you really do have to geography is critically important. And this is where that wiki part of Family Search comes in, is that you can look up information about most any place on that wiki. And it's going to tell you when was that county created. And you know, the Georgia Archives has a great little book that's in the virtual vault called, I think I just Google or search for county boundaries when I go in. It's by Pat Bryant, I think. We're working off memory, and my memory is not what it once was. But that one lists when each county was created, what law created it, then it shows the dates and the laws that took land away from that county and dates of laws and led names of the laws that added land to that county. So for every county, you can get a complete genealogy. It doesn't show you the boundaries, but it tells you that they were losing and taking land. I mean, there's still boundary disputes between Clark and Jackson County. You know, because
Wow.
both counties are confused about where the boundary is.
Great.
But the people who live in the part that they think is Jackson prefer that it be Jackson because their taxes are lower.
Right.
So anyway, well, I hope that has helped y'all some. Are there any other general questions that? And I do hope you will consider signing up for IGHR. I know you think it sounds expensive, but I'm telling you, for the money and what you learn, it's the best time you'll ever spend. It helps me as a researcher. It helped me when I was trying to help other people because I learned it right the first time. So I didn't give them a lot of bad information. And I also knew what I didn't know. Well, I knew more of what I didn't know. Well, none of us know what we don't know, but I'd had a lot better clue of what I didn't know after attending IGHR.
Very good. Well, Laura, thank you very much for your time and your diligence in doing this for us. It's a great effort to do this for us. So we appreciate your time.
Well,
and your
y'all are
talent.
welcome. I enjoy y'all. I'm sorry we're not meeting in person, but it's kind of nice not to have to drive an hour each way and get dressed up. And I'm getting spoiled. I want all my committee meetings, board meetings, maybe not can go back to being in person, but I'll tell you, I really like committee meetings online. So you're not driving 20 to 30 minutes to get there and 20, 30 minutes to get back. And, you know, it's just more efficient.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Right.
Thank you.
Stay healthy
Bye.
and safe.